Okay, welcome to Puckin Awesome episode 24. I am Cassie, Abstract Halo on Twitter, Reddit, etc., etc., and I'm a hockey fan. These are my fellow co-hosts.
I'm Cora. I'm Rosad on Reddit and philosophy on Twitter, and I am also a hockey fan.
I'm Terry. I'm T-Rex20 on Twitter and Reddit. And since I don't abandon my team when they're doing poorly, I'm a Stars fan.
Hi, I'm Aisha on Reddit and Twerk for Twerk on Twitter, and I can at least say I'm a Bruins fan now.
You don't think you can say that you're a Bruins fan now because they've won like a bunch of games straight. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, we got Spring back. We got Spring back.
Before we get into this, my name's Ari, and I'm a Blackhawks fan. And Aisha's full of shit. But let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, yeah. So we've got some good news. Well, I've got good news from my team this week, considering how shitty the Sabres are. Good news is good news. The Sabres play-by-play announcer and the longest tenured broadcaster in the NHL, Rick Jeanneret, has announced that he is cancer-free. Earlier in the summer, he was diagnosed with throat cancer and no longer. So, sorry, that's my good news.
That's awesome.
When I originally heard it, I was a little nervous, like as you would be. I was. Well, cancer's never good, but I was worried for him also because, as his job as a play-by-play announcer, he needs his voice. So it's good to hear that, he still has it too.
Shit.
Yep. And him and Jim Kelly did the ceremonial puck drop on Hockey Fights Cancer Night, and the little jerseys that they wore on the back of RJ's was a microphone instead of a number.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was really cool. And he said he might be back next weekend, so really excited. But let's see, do we have other good news?
There's good news?
I'm just looking through our topics. So we have other good news.
Well,
Yeah, your team's won a bunch of games. You've had lots of good news.
Oh, Skinner got his 100th career NHL goal tonight, which I thought was cool. And, he's always played for the Hurricanes, so it's nice, and he had a smile on. So, yay, happy hockey players.
Okay, I found some kind of good news. It depends on how you feel. The Kings had Jamie McBain on a tryout for their AHL team. They released him from the professional tryout with the intention of possibly signing him on Wednesday to fix their situation. I said it's possibly good news because it's Jamie McBain.
Yeah,
Did you not call him McBath? Because that's what they called him in Carolina.
Someone on Twitter today referred to Jamie McBain as Jack Johnson without the skill, and since Jack Johnson, frankly, is not that skilled, that's a pretty devastating line.
McBain is just bad. He directly contributed to both Jonas Enroth and Matt Hackett's injuries. Matt Hackett has still not recovered from his injury. So if you don't want Quick around, maybe it's a good thing.
Well, the last two times that Jonathan Quick has been injured, the Kings have discovered Ben Scarens and Martin Jones. So frankly, I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah, it's just it's bad. McBain is bad.
Although their goaltenders have to fall off
when
really
he lost to
fast.
the Hurricanes, just FYI. So they lost that one. I don't know how that happened, because I didn't get to watch it, but that still kind of shocks me.
And just to clarify, the reason they have to sign a defenseman is because they're $160 short of cap space to sign someone at league minimum.
Literally $160.
They have caps, yeah.
Like, this is one of those things where, like, a player being superstitious and wanting to have their contract number reflects their uniform number, like, would actually come into play and matter. $160. It
And
seems absurd when you look at.
Carrie, I can hear your dog, but I can't hear you.
Sorry.
And while your dog is the cuter of the two, he's less articulate.
$160 on a cat.
Okay. The reason they're in this situation, obviously, is for Voinov's suspension. He's getting paid, so it still counts against the cap. And people can say, well, that maybe they should have managed the cap situation better. If this was an injury, they could have put the player on long-term injured reserve, no cap hit. Essentially, the only people actually getting punished for what Voinov did or did not do is the Kings.
I don't think anyone is blaming the Kings for not managing their cap situation properly. I haven't seen a single person say that.
I saw a few.
No one could have predicted the situation. The league is clearly still figuring out what to do in these kinds of circumstances. And the Kings, while fortunately they did the right thing by suspending Voinov, are unfortunately the people who are having the trial run on them. That said, there have been a lot of hilarious jokes surrounding the $160, starting with the Kings themselves tweeting, "Can anyone lend us $160?" which was hilarious. The Royal Half was blaming Kopitar, which was great. If only Ante Kopitar could have taken $160 less on his contract, etc., etc.
Right. Okay. And do you guys have anything else to say about that, really? It's
just kind of a comical situation.
Yeah.
I do find one thing I find it interesting because they were talking about how this year when you are suspended from playing, talking about the suspension because of Carter Ashton. Apparently, because of the CBA, that your suspension, the pay doesn't affect the cap space, unlike this it does. Obviously, because he's been suspended with pay, but right. It was just one topic brought up. There's going to be Kings fans mad.
Yeah, I'm going to actually use that as the segue into the next thing. Carden Ashton has been suspended for 20 games for violating the NHL Performance Enhancing Substance Program. He pissed 30.
Well, this story is a little strange. Apparently, he had an asthma attack and used someone else's inhaler, and then kept the inhaler and continued to use it. And the inhaler contained a bad substance which is often found in inhalers. So, one, this is dumb. You can't use someone's inhaler without knowing what's in it. If you have an asthma attack, you need to see a doctor about finding an inhaler that's right for you. Like, don't use other people's inhalers unless it's an emergency.
Well, yeah.
I was going to.
If you're using an inhaler, you're to the emergency part. I've used other people's inhalers because I didn't have mine on me.
Yeah, if you're having an asthma attack, use whatever inhaler you need to use. But do not continue to use someone else's inhaler after you have an asthma attack.
Right.
Go get your own inhaler.
The chemical that was in that inhaler is actually only legal in, like, China, Bulgaria, and used on horses.
That sounds suspicious to me. That's like telling the cop, "Oh man, it's not mine. I was holding it for a friend."
The thing is, though, that I totally believe that Ashton did not know what he was doing, because if he had been intending to joke, he would have been way smarter about it.
And how many times do you have to use an inhaler? I mean, you're not supposed to use rescue inhalers that often. How many times do you have to use it to piss dirty?
I mean, was it a rescue inhaler, or was it a normal inhaler they were abusing as a rescue inhaler?
Well, it's not typically, it's not prescribed in Canada or America, so it shouldn't have been either in this case. It should have just been.
You either use for only, and if you're using that too often, you're supposed to get nebulizer treatments.
Yeah.
The small puffer inhalers are never something that you're supposed to be using like on a daily basis at your dose of medicine. At least not in my experience.
I actually have asthma, and no, you're not supposed. If you're using it more than a certain amount of times, more than your treatment plan states,
which I think typically is more than like 3 times a week.
Yeah. You should be seeking out your doctor for some prednisone or something.
Okay,
so again, how often are you using this sketchy inhaler from Bulgaria?
Okay, none of us are doctors. None of us know for sure where he got the inhaler. None of us are qualified to prescribe how often you ought to be using your inhalers. So let's not speculate anymore on the nature of asthma treatment.
Well, I just wanted to say,
Well,
if after the first one, which
we're not saying anything definitively.
yeah, if
That's
after
why
the
I said
first
speculation.
after the first asthma attack, and I can understand going for whatever inhaler you have if you're having one, because I've been there, done that. But after that point, he should have sought out the team doctors and used whatever they prescribed. The fact that he used it more than one time, and he admitted to saying so, that's where the little problem is. Because after the first one, he should have went straight to the team doctors to get a proper one.
Yep, no one's disagreeing. Okay, cool.
What's next topic?
I mean, the other thing that bears being said about this is only the second use that I can recall of the NHL's drug policy, and it's great to see it being enforced at least a little bit. It still continues to have zero enforcement during the off season, as we found out during the media tour. And so, in terms of drugs and the NHL, we lag far beyond other leagues, and that's something that really needs to be improved. But it's great to see that at least they're taking it somewhat seriously.
Yeah, and 20 games is not a light sentence. So.
No.
See, the Chinese government wants the NHL to hold a game in China as early as next year.
Well,
I mean, if it's preseason,
They want it to be a regular season game.
Yeah, hell no, I'd be pissed if that was my team.
Well, I think that we need to take very seriously the possibility of expanding ice hockey to China. For those of you who don't know, I've lived in China, and it's on one of my first days there. I asked someone I knew who was Chinese, "What are the most popular sports here?" So I can follow sports. And they looked at me and said, "This is a country of 1 billion people. What isn't the most popular sport here?" And if hockey doesn't take advantage of that, then you're fools. Especially as a sport that really needs revenue, as I'm sure we'll discuss later. There are parts of China that are extremely cold where ice sports are popular, Harbin notably, and areas around there. And so, frankly, I think we ought to do whatever the Chinese government, not, whatever, the demand is made, but I think that a regular season game played in China ought to be taken very seriously.
But at the same time, how are you doing that travel-wise?
It's not that bad.
It's going to be probably treated like those London NFL games and anything else.
Especially if you go from Los Angeles or San Jose. It's a short flight. It's not that bad.
But the difference is the NFL plays one game a week. So they have considerably more time to get for their bodies to adjust to the time difference, for travel time, to recover from the travel, where the NHL doesn't do that.
The NHL will probably put that into account when they put the schedules up for those teams who are probably will do a regular season game in China. I don't think they're going to put a China game and then 2 days later, oh, here's an American game for our team. I think they have that much common sense to plan accordingly for that.
Yeah, also, is jet lag that much worse than flying from, let's say, Tampa Bay to Colorado and having to play, the same night or the next night? Altitude is probably worse for you than jet lag.
I would argue that it is worse because that's not a big time difference. What's our time difference from China?
12 hours. From Central Time to Beijing is 12 hours. Or no, sorry, Eastern Time to Beijing is 12 hours.
That's considerably more.
I mean, I can personally say going from Europe to California for a Christmas thing, going that direction is pretty difficult. I don't think it's as personally bad if you go forward in time that way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going backward that's rough.
You don't feel it that much for the first couple days. Obviously you have to, plan it smart. But these are, professional athletes. I'm sure they know you sleep on the flight over, you play the game, you sleep on the flight back, you work it out. Tennis players fly across the world every day and play tournaments like that. Roger Federer went from Shanghai to Europe and started playing the next day. It's totally manageable. I mean, I think that the NHL would schedule for it, but I don't think it's unreasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we've got some questions. It's a smart-ass question, but they want to know how happy are you, Ari, that they gave TBR's goal to Prestige?
I'm personally very happy.
Shut the fuck up. Don't even on this podcast.
Moving
It's
on.
fine. I don't care.
Alright, this one is from LA Dave. If your team was a religion, what religion would they be?
That's an interesting question.
This is from my personal experience. I think the Stars would be Catholic because they say they play hockey, and sometimes they show up to play hockey, but usually they just talk about it and they don't actually play.
Oh, so we're not making up our own religions. We're actually using real religion?
I mean, as long as nobody gets offended.
I have no idea because we're that bad.
So, Presbyterians
Uh,
or Scientologists?
we'll go with Scientologists at this fucking point.
I don't know. I'm Episcopalian, but I think I can count on my hands the amount of time I've actually gone to church. So I probably really offend someone if I don't answer this question.
I don't really know. To be honest, if I was going to say a team was Catholic, I would say the Habs are Catholic because they're really big on like ritual and ceremony and shit. Also, the Habs totally make you feel guilt. The Blackhawks.
Guilt about what?
Like, if you miss a game, like the next day in Montreal, you're gonna hear about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the Habs make their players feel guilt. Sorry, not their fans. If I were to say a team was the Blackhawks or something like sort of mildly inoffensive but wildly popular, like maybe the Blackhawks are Episcopalian. Maybe the Blackhawks are Mormon. We proselytize. That's the bandwagon. I'm trying to think if a team was Jewish, what team would be Jewish? I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
I feel it would be one of the original six.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I kind of want to say this is full of self-loathing, but maybe it's the Rangers, just because New York, full of Jews. New York has more Jews than Tel Aviv, which is sort of a fun point to make.
Okay.
Maybe it's Detroit. They just kind of hang around.
All right. Let's see.
Why?
Okay, so it was the chief operating officer announced that ads on jerseys are pretty much going to happen.
Boo. I understand it's the standard in European sports, and the MLS has it. And that they're not all like just billboards with tons of ads plastered on them. I can't stand them. I have never seen a jersey with an ad on it that I said, "Oh, that looks good."
Like, you don't really notice it. Like, for me, when I watch European football, I don't notice the ads at all on it. That's the thing. Once you get used to it, you don't notice it anymore.
Well,
I notice it. I can't stand it.
If I had to be truthful, I don't think I'd mind as much if it was just one company.
Kind of like how they do it.
And it, like they do in the Premier League, but it would really bother me if it was like the Swedish Hockey League.
I mean, I don't think it is, but I don't root for Samsung. You know, like I root for my team. not the guy that paid for ad space on the jersey.
Well, I speculate in the stock market, so occasionally I do root for Samsung. But I don't have any money on them right now. So.
And I think it makes the NHL look bad compared to the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball. I think it makes us look bad.
Yeah, I think that's true in terms of attracting more of a North American viewership. You know, when you're trying to sell the sport to, let's say, just like your average Chicago sports fan, I think that it does turn people off.
Yeah, I just.
I mean, I don't want it personally.
I don't want it either, because all I can think of is, you know how beautiful the Minnesota Thirds are, and it's because they're so clean and nice.
Yeah, now stick an ad in them.
Yeah, and they're not so pretty anymore. Yeah, I know the ones that you can buy from the stores will probably be, you know, without the ads, but it's just, I understand why the leagues over in Europe do it, but no.
To start charging more for ads on the ice and everything.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd be more okay with ads on the ice than ads on the jersey. I wouldn't like it, but I'd be more okay with that.
it's annoying because we've moved past the point where some of these decisions are being done for survival or expansion of the league. You know, when you see moves that are purely of monetary, of a fiscal calculus, for the owners, the ads would not go into hockey-related revenue, which is split with the players. It's frustrating as a fan and annoying. We're far from the only league that has that problem, but it's something I'll be disappointed to see, although I do think it is an inevitability. You've already seen it on a couple teams' practice jerseys. The Kings have a McDonald's logo on it. It looks dumb as fuck. First of all, the Kings' colors are fucking yellow. Why do you have yellow on your jersey? Second of all, it's just like you've got this black or gray practice jersey, this big yellow M on it. And you're like, you know what, Drew Doughty, you really didn't need something to make you look more like a slob. Like, Drew Doughty was doing just fine looking like a slob on his own. And then they went and put a fucking McDonald's logo on him, and it's really not a good look.
No.
So Drew Doughty should personally lobby against the league putting ads. There is great possibility for humor here in terms of just anything from individual players to teams wearing inappropriate logos. Toyota was the team that had the braking problem. You know,
Oh, God.
what if Toyota sponsored Edmonton? You know, can't stop braking towards that cliff. Or the accelerator problem, not brake. Just keep on accelerating.
I want to say something. We're not answering your homework questions.
Wait, I do actually. He had a really good one, which was the Black Death one caused by one disease or possibly multiple? And that's a really interesting question of historiography. So props to your professor.
Yeah, they're great.
But still, we're not giving you the answer.
But we're not giving you the answers for your homework. If I've got to do my homework the old-fashioned way, you got to do it too.
Agreed. Who wants to do my accounting homework?
Yeah, or I'll start tweeting out my questions for my homework, okay? We don't want that.
Any accountants, please, who are listening to us? I need help.
Okay. Another question here. Blake wants to know, when will the Jets regress?
What? Oh.
We were talking about this just before we got started. There are a couple of goalies who are on real hot streaks right now, and Pavlik, curiously, is one of them. Even, you know, a broken clock is right twice a day, and Pavlik can apparently make saves twice a day. What the hell is that background noise? Cora, I think it's you.
Oops.
Aliens!
Okay. Well, I don't know what that was. Anyways, Pavlik's gonna regress. He's not this good. It's fine.
It'll happen. Just give it time.
What's the Jets' shooting percentage? It's got to be way too high.
And LA Dave tweeted us a link to a McBain MS Paint, which is hilarious. I will retweet for everyone. There it is. And another day, we've been asked, if you were sent to hockey hell, what is there?
Just
The guy, the tan jacket guy in Dallas banging on the glass. Scott
Harold Ballard.
Stevens, and a bunch of people fighting and saying that hockey is a man's sport and fighting is the best part of it. That's my hockey hell.
I think my hockey hell is Harold Ballard and Bill Wirtz co-owning a team. And that team,
Before they could ever win.
and that team's first line is Chris Versteeg, Tony Amonte, and Scott Stevens.
My hockey hell would be Habs winning the Stanley Cup every year. That would be my hockey hell.
God,
So that's
could you
24
imagine the
levels of hell, is
fans?
what you're telling me.
The fans, just imagine the arrogance. Oh God.
I kind of like the Habs.
Okay, my hockey hell would be
Wait. Not the Habs winning every year. The Leafs winning every year.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be
I'd
awesome.
be down.
I'm gonna miss laughing at them.
Oh, she left. Okay, I would say for me it would be a combination of like Patrick Coletta getting some massive frickin' extension. I fucking hate having him on our team. Replay of the '99 finals, that last bit, over and over and over
No goal.
and over.
That's my hockey heaven, but okay.
Oh, Jeff asked a really great question, which is, if the playoffs started today, St. Louis would play Winnipeg. Who do you think would win? And that's an interesting question because on one hand, one team is Winnipeg, and Winnipeg, A, is not a good team, and B, can't have anything good. But on the other hand, St. Louis is unlikely to make it out of the first round of playoffs ever. So that's sort of like a immovable force, or a infinite force meets an unmovable object. I don't know, Jeff.
Blues would find a way to choke anyway. It's the Blues.
Yeah, but it's Winnipeg.
But it's the Blues. It's a curse. They are cursed.
Hmm.
I mean, they're not the Leafs.
All right, this was a question from Ryan. Ovi and Taves are both foreigners, yet they're not strangers to our land. So that was a question to somebody else, but
That's not a. It's not a question.
no. I'm catching bits and pieces here because I'm trying to avoid the homework.
That was Ryan originally asked, "What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen Versteeg?" To which I asked him, "Well, is it an African or a European Versteeg?" And he said it's an African Versteeg. And Blake said, "Are you suggesting that Versteegs migrate?" If you're not following this, it's all a series of quotes from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And Versteegs,
Which, if you're not
indeed, do
following
migrate.
this, if you don't understand that, shame on you. And as soon as you're done listening to us, go watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Frankly, stop listening to us to go watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
We'll be here.
That we will. Yeah, this will be here tomorrow. And I have to say that Chris Versteeg is obviously a European sparrow in that he's small and useless. But he definitely does migrate. He migrated from Florida all the way back to Chicago, sort of like a monarch butterfly. And sort of like a monarch butterfly, his species is dying. So there's a series of comparisons for you guys to process.
Yes. Okay. We had a follow-up question. On the flip side, what is your hockey heaven? And I'm not going to finish the rest of that statement that was tweeted towards us.
Wait, what was it? I don't see it.
He says that I'm going to guess ours is cake filled.
Oh, fuck you, Dave.
So, your hockey heaven.
My hockey heaven is just the 2013 NHL season. Which is great.
Nope.
Mike
2011.
Modano and my hockey heaven is Mike Modano and Sergei Zubov come out of retirement and are 20 years younger and start playing on this current team. And there's no cap.
Oh, wow.
Wait, Terry, you don't need more forwards, you need defense. They've gone over that.
Your thing is defense.
That's why I included. That's why we need Sergei Zubov. That's why we need. Oh God, our defense. If we could take defense from the '99 team and put it with the offense, I dream a lot about defense.
So my dream. Get ready, it's gonna be great. The Islanders end up also tanking this season, so Buffalo has both number 1 and number 2, and we get both McDavid and Eichel, and then down the line we get to have them play together, and our goalie prospects get all big, and I can have a dream line of seeing like Foligno, Girgensons, and Fasching together. That'd be so amazing, and we'd actually win a cup before I die. That would be my heaven. 1 before I die.
My hockey heaven would be if we have actual 3 lines of defensive pairs. That'd be great. Right now we have 1.5.
You have one line of defensive pairs.
You have
Oh, okay, go away.
What?
You have one line. We have none.
Okay, let me explain mine. We had, let's see, the Penguins. The last time we played them, the last game we played, they scored 6 goals. One of our defensemen was on the ice for all of them.
We haven't had a shutout yet. We have an.
Oh my God!
Excuse me?
We've lost 7 games in a row. Who the fuck cares if you win with a shutout? It's not like you get bonus points because it's a shutout. Oh, never mind. It was a shutout. Here's 3 points instead of 2. Who cares?
I have been shut out.
By us.
We've been shut out 5 times this season already.
What's
5 times.
I actually changed my mind about what my hockey heaven is. I think my hockey heaven, now that Detroit is in the Eastern Conference, beating Detroit in the Stanley Cup final is my hockey heaven.
Oh God,
Okay,
do you think anyone would be alive by the end?
Yeah, like, Marian Hossa is pretty indefatigable.
Okay.
But it's pretty hard to break Puckin Keith. He plays a lot of games.
Faces would probably be dead.
Nick Dalmerson, like, as we've proven, is literally a Viking. So he'd probably live.
Okay. On the Monty Python theme, what team's theme song is Always Look on the Bright Side of Life?
What?
Maybe the Leafs.
Yeah.
Always cruising towards sadness with sort of a cheery air to them.
Yeah, I go with the Leafs.
Blake just said Connor McTarasenko. I have some bad news for you, Blake. The Sabres also own the Blues' first-round draft pick this year.
A fun tanking for no one.
God, that Tarasenko goal, we haven't talked about it yet. That Tarasenko goal was awesome.
God, that was beautiful. Beautiful. I
understand that people probably feel about like Brandon Saad or maybe Teuvo Teravainen the way that I feel about Vladimir Tarasenko. It's just really not fair that the Blues get to have him.
Every time we played the Blues just before that, and every time he got the puck, it was just like, shit. Like, it's impressive, and I don't want to play against it.
Yeah, the Blues having exciting offense is not really, like, in the books.
Okay. this is a really interesting question. It's from Keelan. Imagine Crosby and Taves switch teams. How would they impact the teams and which would have the bigger impact?
That's a great question, Keelan.
Yes.
Keelan also says that the Sabres obviously always look on the bright side since they're hoping for McDavid.
Or Eichel.
And if there was a team, on a related note, there is another Monty Python song, Always Look on the Bright Side of Death. And if there was a team that was for that song, it's clearly Edmonton. But anyways, back to Keelan's good question. Sorry, can you read it again?
Okay, so the question was, imagine Crosby and Taves switch teams. How would they impact the teams and which would have the bigger impact?
It's hard to measure intangibles. And they're obviously they're both great leaders, but very different leaders. So in that sense, it's hard to say.
I feel like I feel like that would seriously affect team chemistry on both sides because they're so different.
Yeah.
But on a sort of from a sheer hockey perspective, I think that a sort of Marian Hossa, Sidney Crosby line was really great in 2008 when they played together sometimes, and would be fun to watch. It would be hard to have, although I'd love to see Crosby and Kane play together at the All-Star game or something. That would be a tough line to have because they're both the kind of people who are always gonna someone always has to be prepared for them to give you the puck. So I don't know how well that would work. Whoever their third winger was would just be miserable all the time. He would also have 1,000,000 points, but he'd be miserable.
Yeah, I think chemistry, the way it is between players, it just wouldn't work, personally. So.
Well, I mean, I don't think we can say that without having seen them play together.
Right.
I think it will work after a while.
Yeah. I think Crosby would have a bigger impact than Taves, just because Crosby could make anybody look good.
But on the other hand, think about how many defensive problems and defensive breakdowns that the Penguins have just in the playoffs.
Right.
Any goalie looks better behind Jonathan Taves. Any line mate looks more responsible with Jonathan Taves on their line. He has a huge impact on younger players in terms of teaching guys like Andrew Shaw and Brandon Saad how to be defensively responsible. So if you think about some of the sort of giveaways or turnovers or lack of defensive responsibility you see from Bo Bennett or Bortuzzo, although Bortuzzo's not bad, maybe they would develop a little bit differently with Jonathan Taves. Not that Crosby is bad defensively, he's not a Selkie candidate.
Right. Okay. Do you have any other thoughts on that? That was a really, really good question.
Yes, I liked that question.
This one is more of a fun one. To Ryan, if your team was a Disney movie, what movie would they be and why? And Josh did point out that Team USA would be the Miracle movie, so.
That's a shocker. I think that maybe we would be what's the name of that movie? Atlantis: The Lost Empire, which I don't actually think is a Disney movie. But I think we would be Atlantis because we knew that there was something out there, and that something was the Stanley Cup. And we followed a roadmap to get it, and there were many twists and turns and improbable moments. But we discovered the language of winning and used the magic of Kane and Taves to achieve our objective.
I don't know.
I can't think of any Disney movies that are sad and full of lots of bullshit.
So just the beginning of every Disney movie where the mom dies?
Yeah, pretty much.
No, just do the first 10 minutes of Up. Perfect.
But Up is not.
The first 10 minutes of.
I think the Sabres are the first 5 minutes of Bambi.
I have a good one.
Okay.
At least
There
would be
you
a
go.
Goofy movie. Because Goofy was one of the original Walt Disney characters, but he's not as well known really anymore. Well, I mean, he is well known, but more so because of his history, not because he's really doing anything. And Goofy's a funny movie and it has cool songs, and so it's like they'll at least draw us in because it's fun to be a fan, but there's really no payoff.
That's a good one.
I think Bruins would be Wally because they're still stuck in the old mentality and trying to fight out of that old mentality of old time hockey. So they're kind of failing at it.
I finally got one. I finally got one for the Sabres.
That's good.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Because they're trying to pretend to be something they're not, which is a hockey team, and they're failing horribly, and everything's going up in flames.
I have a different answer for the Bruins. I think the Bruins are Beauty and the Beast, with Zdeno Chara and Patrice Bergeron being relatively, what's the word I'm looking for? I just heard a cat meow, and it's really distracting. Come to me, kitty cat.
Cat, shut up.
No! Anyways, Patrice Bergeron is Beauty, and Zdeno Chara is the Beast.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay.
But when you think about, like, you know, what are the Sharks? Maybe the Sharks are the road to El Dorado. It just never goes well, but you love it anyways.
Ah.
I feel like
don't have one.
I feel like Tulio and Miguel are like Marlowe and Pavelski, and then Joe Thornton is the horse.
Sorry.
Old Yeller. The Sharks are Old Yeller because
Oh,
they're
God.
really great at the beginning and they're having such good fun, and then the dog is deader than their playoffs in the Stanley Cup.
Birds are the Little Mermaid because Jeremy Jacobs is the evil sea witch. Eh? No? Yeah? No.
Also, but at the end, the evil sea witch is defeated, and Ursula, her name is Ursula, and no one's defeating Jeremy Jacobs.
True.
That's true.
Yeah.
Keelan pointed out that a very sad Disney movie is The Fox and the Hound, so we'll go with Edmonton as The Fox and the Hound.
Or Red Rover. Red Rover was also a sad mermaid, similar theme.
So that was fun. David asks us, what is the most beautiful goal you've seen, and what is the most greasiest goal you've seen?
Seth Griffin's goal from today was good.
That was the most beautiful
It was
goal
weird,
you've ever
but
seen.
it was good. No, not ever. Just recently. I can't think of all time yet. All
Yeah.
time would probably Bobby Orr.
The most
Just
beautiful
because
goal
of the
I've
legendary.
seen was Patrick Kane's Game 6 goal against the Flyers. I didn't really see it, but it was beautiful.
I don't think anybody really saw it. But,
The goal might be easier, which has to be the goal for the Coyotes.
The most beautiful goal I've ever seen
There have been a lot
was
of
the
years,
butt
and
goal.
that Terrence saying could.
The butt goal? Oh, yeah.
The buckle. The buckle was the most beautiful
Oh,
goal
it's
I've
ugly.
ever. The reason the buckle is the most beautiful goal I've ever seen is because it was an overtime winner.
Which one was the butt goal?
And it was the only goal that Mark Pezic got credit for last season.
Oh, that goal! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was bad.
Okay, LA Dave wants to know, why is there no more hockey tonight?
I don't
Does it
know, but I wish there was.
Screw the West Coast.
Football. It's an
Football.
easy answer.
Yeah,
It's
it's
football.
Monday Night Football.
Because they'd be directly competing with ESPN.
And they can't.
And they just don't start showing Monday games until later in the later half of the season.
Yeah, after January.
Which just proves how much November and December suck. So.
Okay, so some more news. Sagan has got his 5th hat trick, and
He's one away from tying the team record for most hat tricks. He's played 90-some games for us.
so that's pretty impressive.
Madonna has the team record with 6. I would just like to point out that we still lost. Tyler Seguin got a hat trick within the first 2 periods, and we still lost.
Yep.
Shut up.
That takes some talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would offer you guys defensemen, but we don't really have any left.
We choked against the Sharks. I just want to point that out.
Okay, we have a request to make LaFawn happy and talk about how Carlson is the most amazing defenseman in the NHL.
He has pretty hair. There we go.
He promotes very good self-happiness.
He purdy.
Erik Karlsson is a really interesting case in terms of he's already won a Norris Trophy. He's a very talented defenseman. He's an incredible skater. He has offensive instincts, and you can't really teach offense as much. His offensive instincts are off the chart, but there's definitely still like some defense to be learned there. Was it Tarasenko that just embarrassed Karlsson the other day?
Yeah.
Obviously, Tarasenko's an amazing player, but I'm not sure it was. Someone was totally embarrassed Karlsson the other day. And it's the kind of thing that you gotta. He needs to take another step forward, but he's still, without taking another step forward, he's still one of the best defensemen in the NHL. So that's a pretty cool thing to be able to say about a guy. So there's my Erik Karlsson thought.
I just like that on Tumblr he promotes like loving yourself and all that, which makes him a really cool guy.
That's not like an overly substantive thing to say.
Oh, and other Erik Karlsson news. I don't know. This is kind of cool. I should have watermarked it. I made a GIF of him at a game, and he reblogged it on his Tumblr. So
Oh, that's cool.
Myself.
Did you
Well, I didn't originally put it on Tumblr. Somebody else did, but it was the one I made, so I kind of felt. Well, it was one thing I did right. So.
Is it the one where he was dancing, like bobbing his head to the music?
Yeah. It's that one.
Yes.
I know it's because it has tons of views. If I go to my user account, I can see the view count. It's insane.
Yep. Let's see. This week the 3 stars were. Oh, somebody say his name.
Giordano?
Yes. That's Anderson and Tarasenko.
Well, Giordano got another point tonight, so he's had, 4 consecutive games with a point. It's insane.
So that seems pretty good choices for this week. Okay, the other news, Antoine Roussel was fined for sucker punching. What was the fine was somewhere around $5,000.
It's a little over $5,000, the maximum allowed. They fined him maximum, but didn't suspend him.
Yeah.
They asked him about it, and Roussel isn't really the kind of guy that beats around the bush. He said he didn't realize, he thought it was a fair fight. He didn't realize he was tied up by the linesman. He punched him. As soon as he realized he was tied up, he backed off. He was intending when this fight started because the Sharks goalie, it was a weird play. He was well out of the goal, and the puck was coming to him in the air, and instead of catching with his glove, he swung at it with his stick, and Roussel saw him starting to swing at it and skated over and knock the puck down before he could swing at it. He missed. Well, he didn't miss. The puck just hit. It had already been hit. Knocked the goalie over. Of course, is immediately fought a scrum in the corner and sucker punched. I don't even remember who he sucker punched, but while the linesman was restraining the other guy. It was part of our meltdown in that game. And when Roussel was asked what he thought about the fact that he might be getting a reputation as a dirty player, he said he didn't care.
Yes.
Which I don't think he is a dirty player. He wasn't trying to injure the goalie because he wouldn't have missed like he did.
Are we speaking of the one with Kudobin? That incident?
Huh? No, this just is when this happened. Oh. No, when that was. Are you talking about last year? in
Yeah,
Carolina.
last March or
His
something. It was in
skate got
Dallas.
taken out. His
Oh.
skate got taken out by a Carolina player. Just for the record. He's not a dirty player. He's an agitator. I think he lost his cool. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking he could hit the puck out of midair. But he's not a dirty player. He doesn't go for the head. He doesn't do anything like that. He's an agitator.
He comes across more as a little shit.
Yes, I will absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I love having him on our team. He's the first person on the ice every single practice. He's a really hard worker. And he can make shit
Mark
happen.
Lazary.
And also make the other team take bad penalties.
Okay, so we were asked, who is your Norris favorites early on this season?
Shea fucking Weber.
Yeah, seriously, Shea Weber.
Yeah,
Mark Giordano for sure is up there. Although I think Giordano gets a lot of credit for the work TJ Brody does, but that's fine. Brody's time shall come. Who else? Who else is good at defense, guys?
I don't know. I've only watched the Sabres in the Wild.
Brent Burns. Just kidding. Brent Burns is a forward.
I've only seen Tampa and Boston games, so I don't know yet.
Victor Hedman looked real great until he got injured. We'll see when he comes back. He's a real talented player.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm still viewing NHL teams as Disney movies on Twitter.
I'm noticing. I feel like I'm not well versed in Disney enough to be able to play this game.
Actually,
Josh asked me to come up with one for Tampa, and I'm still thinking about it. So, Josh, I'm working on it, but it's tough.
all right, you were right. I was thinking because Weber, Giordano, and Hedman would be my choices if I had to, even if Hedman was still playing, not injured, to be finalist. I do think one of the things that goes against Weber is that he's just not playing for a big market team, but I think it would definitely help. They look like they're going to be in the playoffs this year.
Knock on wood.
Yes, because the Central Division really needs to be tougher.
Shoot me.
Well, you know,
wait, can I?
they have good defense because of Trotz, and Laviolette's getting them to score again. So,
Can I just say that Tyler Sagan just favorited a tweet from at Athlete Tip that says all athletes retweet, and it's just a picture that says confidence is being able to say "fuck you, I'm the shit" without opening your mouth. Say it with your walk, with your smile. Say it with your entire being. And I just want to say that I feel like Tyler Sagan actually says "fuck you, I'm the shit," like with opening his mouth. Like, I feel like that's a phrase he's probably uttered at some point.
Yes.
Probably. Jess wants us to know that Brent Burns has the most points amongst defensemen. Okay, if you guys also, if you have not seen Brent Burns after the Burns' buzz cut, you guys should really see a picture of him.
No, I don't ever want to see a picture of him.
Okay, so Brent Burns without hair is the weirdest thing in the world.
Will I be able to sleep if I look at it?
He has cheekbones.
Yes! He looks like a 14-year-old kid.
Perfect.
He's not as preteen looking as Darcy Kemper, though. That's been settled, though. I love the Milkman, but he looks like a 14-year-old kid.
may I ask a question?
Yes.
I kind of am too afraid to ask Wild fans. But why is he called Milkman?
Okay, I'm gonna say this here, and I'm going to, so everybody can stop asking the question. There is a dairy brand in Minnesota, based out of Minnesota, called Kemp's. They make ice cream, they make milk.
Wait, does Kemp's not exist in other places?
No!
Oh my god, that explains so much. That's why none of you understand this nickname.
That's why nobody understands the nickname. The nickname Milkman is because Kemper shortened as Kemp's, which is probably what they call him in the locker room. Kemp's is a brand of milk. The Milkman.
Oh.
Don't go into the Wild subreddit if you don't want some terrifying and frightening gifs of milk. Okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
But
I didn't realize that Kemp's didn't exist outside of Minnesota. This is mind-blowing. This is like when I found out that Darren Helm wasn't Swedish.
Wait, I don't understand. Wait, Ari,
Yeah.
you've lived in several other places other than Minnesota. Have you never noticed that they don't have it?
I'm lactose intolerant.
It's good enough reason.
Out there, Blake is cringing.
So I never looked. I never realized.
Okay, here we go. We got a serious question. Thoughts on the Wild driving possession and still losing? It's a two-part question, but I'll touch on the Wild. The Wild are not a road team. They are horrible when on the road. Guess what? They've been on a road trip. That just sums it up right there. They are such shit. I mean, I get all the marketing in this area for the Wild, and they promote this home of the home ice advantage. Like, seriously, one of the commercials is like, exposure to loud noise may lead to hearing loss, but thankfully it rarely leads to a home loss.
Really? Oh,
Seriously.
wow. What the fuck?
They're a shit team on the road. That and Parisi, Spurgeon are both injured, and Dumba needs to be tied to the bench and just stapled there. But the second part of the question was, and why are the Leafs the worst? I'm not going into that one.
Wait, who asked that?
LaFawn.
Because I'm a fan of them.
But you have to admit they are the worst.
Yes, they truly are. They really cause a lot of pain, and it's really hard to be a fan, even though I will still cry into my Kessel sweater.
Okay. Dave, LA Dave wants to know if there's anyone in the league uglier than Brent Burns.
Chara.
He's not that ugly.
Yeah, Brent Burns is kind of okay looking.
You guys need to see some ugly people if you think Brent Burns is ugly.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
am sorry.
fucking Tanner
Tyler
Graham.
Kennedy.
I need to move where these people live because obviously you're full of beautiful people. I can name several people that live in my apartment complex that could beat out Brent Burns.
I'm just gonna say it, Tyler Kennedy. He's so bad.
Listen, I worked at Cracker Barrel for 7 years. Just gonna say, if you want to talk about seeing ugly people,
I live
7 years in a Cracker Barrel.
God bless Cracker Barrel.
Okay. And we're getting actually people responding with their thoughts on who's ugliest. And we had someone saying, arguing that Winnipeg is louder than Minnesota. I'm not saying that they're the loudest. I'm just saying that's how the Minnesota Wild are marketing their team to the people in the state. Because that's how they are. No, listen, Dave. It wants
I
to
came up with a better NHL Disney team for the Buffalo Sabres. 20,000 leagues under the sea. 20,000 leagues out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the question?
Who are your early season favorites for all the awards?
Sidney Crosby for every award.
Spoiler alert.
Seriously. If the Predators can keep it up, I could see Laviolette getting Coach of the Year.
I could see that. But then again, it's Nashville, so...
Right.
Detroit's going to riot.
I wish
They're going to riot.
I wish most opposite of improved Coach of the Year was a thing, so that we could give that to Patrick Waugh.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think what other awards there are. GM of the Year would probably...
We won't know until the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's a trade deadline question. Unless the Kings can somehow make it through this situation with $160 in cap space. Let's try to think of the others. Yeah, pretty much anything. It's either going to be Stamkos or Ovi for most goals. Usually is.
Okay, if you were to pick someone other than Stamkos or Ovi, who would you pick?
Uh,
I know it's tough.
because I mean that one's just
Kessel.
yeah, Kessel,
Phil for 40.
Kessel or Corey Perry actually.
Yeah. I do not like sharing a name with him.
I know, but
Puckin is honestly not a bad choice. Puckin's going to score a lot of goals this year.
Vesnia.
Andre Pavlik. Just kidding.
I think Miller. I mean, this is slightly homerish, but I think he can make a run for it the way he's playing this year. Because he's kind of been doing really good.
Yeah, but does he keep it up?
He can.
Pekka Rinne is amazing.
Yeah, Renee could probably do it. Probably be nominated.
I could see, I mean, Rask, Renee, and Miller.
Rash not this year.
Well, I haven't watched anything really outside of.
Like I said, he still hasn't got a shutout this season so far. And his numbers have been atrocious.
Okay. Well, it's still too early for some of these.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question. This one's different. And David actually tweeted us the pairwise rankings as well, but who would you pick for your Frozen 4 teams?
I have absolutely no idea.
I'm going to step out of this because the only Frozen, I can't answer that.
I don't watch that much college hockey, but I'll go ahead and say Minnesota, UND, Quinnipiac, and one of the Boston schools.
Quinnipiac.
The one
Quinnipiac,
Eichel.
right.
No, Eichel plays for. I'm even calling him like Eichel now.
Yeah.
Does he play for BU?
Yes, he does.
I'm going to be real brave and say that one.
No, it wouldn't be BU because we most likely BC than BU. Just based off the power rankings in Boston hockey.
I know nothing about college hockey.
Okay, the
Just
thing
me.
is, North Dakota has actually faced pretty easy teams so far. So once they can actually get a team that's play a team that's decent and prove that they're worth where they are, maybe. But yeah, Minnesota will probably be there, and I'm not saying that because I'm a homer. And if Michigan Tech can keep it up, they will probably be in the Final Four as well. So there's that. I still think it's a little too early.
It's way too early.
We just predicted who would win the fucking Vezina, so who are we to talk about too early, eh?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not answering the follow-up point. We're not doing the follow-up point question. Recently, there was talk of goalie coaching in Canada mimicking the Finnish. Why do you think this is? And does Korn's methods and similar goalie coaches have something to do with it? I think it's a good idea.
I think that the position of goaltending in Canada, and I did not grow up in the Canadian hockey system, so this is mostly based on what guys like Myrtle and Elliott have written about this kind of stuff. But it seems like the position of goaltender in youth Canadian hockey is highly politicized. And at the youth level, there's a lot of politics in sports. It seems like maybe that has a detrimental impact on actually the training of goalies. But I also think the whole Canadian goalie panic is a little bit overblown. We still see really great goaltenders come out of Canada.
Yep.
I think, as I've never played ice hockey, and I've never lived for a very long time. Position everywhere is highly politicized in my experience. Just because, so you're a forward, and you can come in and out of a game, and you're splitting time with this other forward, and both of you can be on the field at once. And with goalkeeping, You either play or you don't. And there's not an in-between, and you have the overbearing parents and coaches who flip out about 8-year-olds. And it just lends itself to that kind of situation. And top that off with Canada being reluctant to change how they do anything with the sport they consider theirs. And Canada has always been like this. If you look back through Canadian hockey history, they're reluctant to adopt the techniques other countries use, even though they are clearly working. So I think it's great that they're starting to look at it a little differently and take different training techniques.
Yeah. Let's see. It's not bad for them to expand their mind and look into what's making Finnish goalies so great. So,
Hunter.
I mean, art is about imitation in general, so nothing wrong with borrowing technique and improving, I guess. I mean, it's not a negative thing, I don't think. So, that's my thought on it. Pretty simple. Okay, let's see, do we have any other questions? Okay, there's 2 news things we missed. Renee Bork, was put on waivers and cleared waivers.
Has a player that cleared waivers ever scored a hat trick in the playoffs before clearing waivers?
I don't think so.
Renee Borgia has a career that fascinates me. I feel like if I were an NHL player, I would have the career of Renee Borg. Just constant unending failure with like 1 or 2 like really peak moments.
No, career. From what I've heard about Renee Bork, careers like his piss me off. Because from what I hear, and I don't know if it's true, because I also feel like anything you take from Canadian hockey media needs to be taken with a grain of salt, is that he doesn't work hard enough. And
Okay.
that kind of pisses me off. If you have all of this talent and you have this opportunity that so many people, you don't work hard enough, like, see you later.
Okay, so we're getting really good questions tonight, so thank you guys. Another one, speaking of politics, should coaches focus on winning or should parents be ignored and rather focus on total development?
Ooh.
Depends on level of hockey, I think.
I'm assuming younger.
Are we talking like 12 and younger?
Yeah, probably mites and stuff.
Interesting. When I played kind of that middle of the road competitive soccer,
Right.
not going to brag about myself, but I really enjoyed playing forward and I liked scoring, but I also was good at playing goalie because I wasn't afraid to like actually be hit by a ball.
That's a good start.
So, but there were 2 of us who really didn't mind playing goalie, and one of the things they would do is they would switch us out, do alternate game, and then the other person would play. I think she liked to play midfielder. I don't know, or switch through halves, which I know is weird, but that's like thinking of the goalie thing. I know they like to stick one, but there's ways to go about it, and when it's that age, and you're not playing competitively, I think the parents have to remind themselves that these are kids who are doing it in their free time,
For fun.
Yeah, and I mean, we understand, particularly in the north, I mean, I'm talking about the northern states in Canada, how they want to get to, when they start hitting 14 and stuff, they want to really play competitively, but I've been around those parents that yell at you as you come off the field because you've done something wrong, and it's just, I think they really should be strict about how they do parents, but I don't know. I don't have kids, and I don't want them, so.
Okay, so I'm going to get on a rant here, so I'm going to warn you guys. Fuck hockey mothers.
Okay.
Okay. So
Maybe you should say hockey parents, because it's not just mothers who push their children.
Yes, it's not just that. We were at so my boyfriend's nephew plays, and we go to some of his tournaments. We were at one of his tournaments. We were all the way out in North Dakota for this tournament, too. And
Wait, context. How far away is North Dakota from you?
we were down in Moorhead, which was about, there was a nasty storm. The drive took us like 7 hours. It was bad. Okay.
Good Lord.
He was he seemed to be the only competent child on that team that he plays for. The other mothers were yelling at him because he made a smart play. He was about to go offside, so he stopped at the line so he wouldn't, go off sides. And they yelled at him. Yelled at another child for doing that. He didn't have a clear shot, so he decided to pass it to somebody who did.
That's absurd.
These aren't the coaches. These are people, mothers of other children yelling at him. They don't even grasp basic hockey rules, and they're yelling at these children. I don't like them. So, yeah, I think maybe they should focus on it being fun. And I mean, I yelled at him. I yelled at him because he hit a kid from behind, but that's one of those times when you're not supposed to do that. Duh.
Well, you know how we kind of got around it, my parents did. My brother went to boarding school just to get away from it, because you don't have parents hanging around.
Yeah, so...
Like you do at those, particularly the kind he was playing. I'm not real sure. I'd have to ask my mother. Like he was, the major travel type hockey. So, and those parents are insane. I remember being a kid and being like totally fascinated that people were this mean.
Yeah. And
Oh, God.
the ref made a questionable call, and because of the time running out, and the parents just ripped into him. It was just, I just don't want to be around that. It was so negative. We have another question. They're coming at us. They're good. Would you rather see U.S. kids play high school hockey for their community or go to places like the U.S. National Development Program?
It depends on where you're from.
Yep.
If you're from Minnesota, I'd love to see you stay. The people are so passionate, you're going to get good instruction and good development. But if you're a kid coming from, let's say, Southern California or from Florida, I don't want your development to be hampered by the fact that you happen to grow up in a place where hockey isn't big enough yet. Eventually, I would love to be able to say that everyone should stay and play hockey for their community, but I don't want to hinder the development of people coming who aren't fortunate enough to come from a place where they can get national level experience.
Yep. I think it depends on where you are. If you're in Minnesota, your kid should probably play high school hockey. If they're in, even if we go over to Michigan or the such, maybe there's better options. That's just how it is. Depends on what state you're in. All right, another one.
One last note. I would really, really love to be able to see people stay and play high school hockey wherever they're from, because the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament brings everyone joy. No matter how well your team does, it's so much fun, and I would love to see every state have something like that.
Yes, and if you ever do make it to the state for the high school tournament, the rules are if you don't already have a team to cheer for, you pick a team from the range cities if they make it. I personally suggest Hibbing, not because I live there or anything, but that's what I personally suggest.
Hibbing! The high school's also really nice.
Yes.
As I've been told.
My
grandmother went.
This one, another serious one. Following the Tinder outbreak, should education be introduced, and what can be done to mitigate these attitudes?
Yes, absolutely. There should be education. There needs to be education on two levels, I think. Well, there's, I guess, three levels. The first level, which isn't really, ideally you wouldn't need, is social media. How do you have a media presence? And ideally we wouldn't need that because people would be good people. But, these are kids and they're going to make mistakes. Second of all, there clearly needs to be training about issues of entitlement. The fact that you're a hockey player and you might be a big deal doesn't entitle you to anything. And that's something that needs to be hammered in at the junior level.
Yep.
And third of all, there needs to be training about sexual assault and about hazing and about issues of respect. And it's become clear that that doesn't exist in any sporting culture in the United States. There have been scandals, everything from marching bands to college football. And so I don't think it's an issue unique to hockey, but it has been in the news. There absolutely needs to be, I guess, a tripartite education system. And I think that responsibility falls with individual teams.
Yep.
I don't want to hear the excuse that the OHL doesn't provide it. I'm done with that bullshit.
I have to agree. I think more training, more education. They did the statement that the OHL put out about how they're trying to get rid of the sense of entitlement that these players have. Obviously shows that they recognize that there is an issue, and it's obviously not an easy. You can't just wave a magic wand and make these issues go away because they're deep inside these people, and the changing of behaviors like that take effort and take lots of different reinforcers, and there's a whole science behind it.
Well, and the thing I think people are like, there's a comment in the thread on our hockey about it, and the comment was made by a kid, literally. I think he said he was 16. That, oh, well, people just need to think before they post, think before they say things like, oh, could this get out? Is this the right thing to say? And while I do agree, you do need to do that. That's not the problem in the case with the two OHL. The problem is the thinking initially. If somebody turns you down and you immediately go to that kind of hateful thinking, there's something wrong with your thinking. There's something wrong with your thought process.
Yes.
That's what someone turns you down, so they're a bitch. They don't deserve you anyway. How dare they say no to someone like you? There's a problem with your thinking. Even if you think that and don't type, problem.
Yeah, and behavior like that, like I said, so that's kind of what my major is in behavioral stuff, and right now going through a class on behavior management. If we'd like to, all think that it's an easy thing that we can just tell people stop doing that.
How does it work?
That's not how it works, unfortunately,
Right.
and especially in a case where their instant behavior to do something is, I'm going to act like this. Well, there's just so much that it would take months in order to get that out of them. They may still feel that when, they get through this, but at least they could somewhat react differently. I think maybe some behavioral and, analysts might do good in training these kids on how to behave.
And
So-
I also think there was also in that same thread about whether or not it was part of rape culture. This is that mad and that entitled when a girl turns you down. That's it, because that's what leads to a guy being at a party, turning him down, and him not being able to handle that and takes it. That's what people are talking about when they talk about rape culture. Well, that's part of what people are talking about.
Yeah, so I think it's just going to take time, and I do have to say that the OHL did the right thing in suspending them for a good chunk of time for their behavior. I think that's a big deal. So, okay, better news, better question. The Senators are introducing a fan zone that imitates European fans. Thoughts on this and the position in North America?
I love it.
I mean, if it could get going during games, that's like a good chance. Then.
Yeah, but part of me is skeptic about this because the thing about soccer culture is it's not supposed to be forced like that. It's supposed to happen naturally, organically.
Yeah, but I mean,
That seems very kind of fake-ish because I'm just used to the actual thing. So when I see things like this, especially in MLS when they force it, it just comes off very fake and sterile.
But it has to start somewhere. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just not like You'll Never Walk Alone just magically appeared.
Yeah,
Right. I don't think in the MLS, like I don't think if you go to Seattle or Portland it looks sterile or fake. I think in North America teams get the ball rolling and fans will latch on and take over and do it themselves. If you look at US soccer games, like national team games, that's what the American Outlaws have done. And I went to the game where we actually qualified for the World Cup last year, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Best sporting event I've ever been to by far, and it was fan led. U.S. soccer supports it, they encourage it, and they clear the way for it to happen. But it's fan led, and it makes the atmosphere unbelievable. I didn't miss any of the game doing it, which I feel like I've seen some complaints about that. Oh, they're too busy cheering, they're not watching.
Right. Well, I mean, you can say the same thing if you turn and you look to NCAA and how the crowds react while watching hockey then. If we even had that level of excitement in NHL hockey, it would be awesome.
Well, based off the one game that I saw parts of for Senators where they implemented the fan zone, they actually did a really good job of like drowning out the Toronto fans. It's great. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, if they're using that also as a way to get rid of Toronto fans, because I know Ottawa has the same problem Buffalo has, where Toronto fans can't afford tickets, so they just go to the other arenas. Okay. All right, here we go. I think this is going to be our last question because we're already over by a half hour. So, does the movement of the NHL to more social media spell a time where fans can connect more to their teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the best parts of social media, that you feel more connected. I mean, I've had Twitter conversations with the Dallas Stars, whoever runs their Twitter, and it's fun.
I think it's, I mean, the world in general has gotten smaller because of social media and the impact it has. So I think we are more connected to them. Before social media and all of that, if you had a complaint about something that like a ref did or something happened at a game, you'd have to mail them or email them and wait on a response. Right now, it's instant. You can instantly connect with them somehow. They might not respond, but
I mean, it is kind of weird being like contacted by people who are in the hockey media or talking directly to you.
right.
It's something that it's just like before social media even existed. It was like totally weird because like I met one time a kid I knew. His father was the one of the main well-known anchors. Had been there for a long time in the area, and I remember meeting him as a kid and be like, "Well, I feel famous now," but it's like there's so much more connect. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you'll see a tweet or something on Tumblr or something get favorited or spread out there by a player, and you probably get all giddy inside. Like, oh, one of my favorite players just, acknowledged me somehow.
It's almost like being real friends.
So, no, I think it brings us closer.
I do have a question though.
Okay.
Has anyone seen the NFL commercial from the NFL shop commercial where the family has each of their family members choosing a different team? What would you do if your family did that? Like your own family, your children decided to support a different team than you.
I mean, that already happens, so I don't know.
I mean, that's why you start indoctrination when they're young.
Yeah, that's why you put that evil on them when it's early.
Well, okay, So I root for a different team than my dad, but the same teams as my mom, as far at least in football. And that wasn't a choice. That was a you root for the Giants or you don't live in my house. So, like, seriously, we lived in Dallas. My brother and I both grew up in Dallas. And while the Cowboys were winning all those Super Bowls, and my brother came home with a Cowboys sweatshirt. And he choice. My dad, on the other end, doesn't care at all.
I remember in 1993 where, out of spite, my brother was angry that the Leafs weren't in the finals. So he started cheering for the LA Kings. And my father was just so happy he would torment him that the Habs were in the finals and just shove it in his face. And my sister is a Devils fan. So I remember, I think during one of the Stanley Cup runs that the Hurricanes did, I remember her sitting there in the audience, losing, surrounded. So we also gave her a hard time. It's a way of life in my family.
I think, if my boyfriend and I have kids, if we adopt, and we decide to let them, I think we'll just let them pick between the two teams. This might just be best.
See, for me, after the whole Arsenal debacle, and I'm questioning why my parents made me an Arsenal fan, I would rather have my children choose their team that they want to support as long as it is not a team that I hate. I'm not going to force it on them.
I will say to be in a place you actually live. Like, I kind of to know what that's like, where you go into a store and buy your own team's merchandise and win games.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think I would want my kids to be. I would probably try to indoctrinate them into my. I wouldn't be upset unless they won't be allowed like.
Yeah, I mean,
Or Devils fans.
I think. Sorry, Terry, you faded out there. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
You're
but
fine.
I think that for me, being a sports fan has been a constant thread through my life. I've rooted for a number of sports, a number of teams, depending on where I lived and the time. And it's brought me, even when teams are bad, it brings me a lot of joy. I love sports. And so to me, I hope that my kids will be sports fans because I think that it's awesome to be able to have that kind of passion and get that kind of joy out of watching something. And whether they love tennis or hockey or baseball or basketball, it doesn't really matter to me. And what team they root for doesn't really matter to me either. But I do want to say before we wrap up, if we could stop shitting on Edina, that would be really great. If you're not following
I
along,
don't even know what Edina is.
It's a suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Edina is a suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul. There are parts of it that are very affluent, and it tends to be very good at hockey and do well in the tournaments. It's also where I'm from. And so I know it's fun and trendy to say that you hate me, but please leave Edina alone. I really appreciate that.
I just hate their hockey team.
No, please just stop with the Edina thing. It's not funny.
Oh, I only made the one comment, that's it, so. So we don't have any other news, and we stopped the questions. Yeah, we are a half hour over, so let's wrap this up. Do we have any other final thoughts?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Why don't you go ahead and do the wrap-up?
All right. So you can catch this episode and all of the others on ourhockeycast.com, the subreddit r/ourhockeycast, on the YouTube channel, so on and so forth. You can find this and the other shows, such as Crashing the Continents, The Mighty Dave Show, Wooden Ball and Toddler Thursday and After Hour. The schedule is in our hockey in the subreddit, so you can find it there. I am Cassie, Abstract Halo, Twitter, Reddit, etc. And these are my hosts.
I'm Cora. I'm Velociraptor on Twitter.
I am Aisha on Reddit and Tart for Tart on Twitter.
I'm Terry. I'm T-Rex20 on Reddit and on Twitter.
I'm Ari. I'm Ari_Raid on Reddit and Twitter.
All right, and good night.
Bye.